I believe there's something on Reuters from a couple years ago where you're leading a group of kids in nature, and
Oh,
as a
really?
part of like environmental education for youths. And you talk
Yeah.
about this workshop. It's like the guards of heaven, I think, is how it translates. And and then I know too, like you've also done some work with animal compassion, where you help kids learn that, an animal is not like an it's a living being, and having compassion for that and having a non-violent attitude towards animals helps nonviolence with a broader understanding of nonviolence and the importance of nonviolence, and just generally compassion. But I was wondering, for both of those, what your experience has been like working with kids, with in connecting with the environment, and also just basically teaching them compassion and nonviolence.
No, that's a very beautiful way to enter because really this is my doorway into anything, honestly, to the connection of all things. For me, this is like the base from which I start moving. And it's very much related to the web of life, generally speaking, of how everything, we're all connected, we're all a part of one very big web. And that is the base of my work with the children. This is the base of my work with generally as and the mindfulness and meditation as well, right? So um, this work with the children and bringing them to the forest, bringing them to nature, I find it I really find it very meaningful, especially for me as Palestinian on this land, since there has been, in a way, along the last decades, a decline in the connection to Earth. And it's been happening for many reasons. One of them is obvious. It's like we're all becoming more modernized, like the modern life, and everyone's in front of screens the whole of the time, and just like really not that much in connection and bond to nature and to Earth and to all the beings. But here there's an addition of another story happening, which is a really targeted methodology of disconnecting Palestinians from Earth because it's part of our identity. And actually, with the Sangha that we're probably going to be speaking of later, there we had this retreat recently, and the teacher that came to accompany us or teach us the retreat, basically, he noticed the connection that we have, like the deep connection that we have with this earth. It's really almost like flowing in our veins, we it's generations over generations in a way, and it just needs to be rekindled. It's rekindling the connection to earth because it's been taught generation over generation, and there are certain things that we identify also on the land, the ways that our ancestors or like grandmothers and grandfathers basically knew how to work with the land, to make it possible for plants to grow, for animals to be. And this knowledge is acquired, for a long time. It doesn't just happen over like a decade or two. It's been trial and trial until they arrived at this point. And so I find like once you ignite the memory of connection to the land, there's something that really comes to life. And that happens also with children, but also with adults. And this place brings to real deep serenity and quietness inside. And that's for me very important essence of spirituality, generally speaking. Once you relax into, like you take refuge basically, right? Like you relax into the wider picture, then there's less of a division, less of disconnection, either from creation or from other human beings. So I find this really core. So my work with children has been really bringing them to nature and teaching them how to look into nature and not survive. There are many survival courses in nature. This is not what we do. Like what we do is really learning to see into nature, learning to feel it, learning to connect to it, to everything that lives in nature, and learn that we're part of the bigger picture. This I find this really, really nourishing and important. Yeah.
Certainly, and I love the you saying that there's this this refuge in connecting with nature, and
Yeah.
and there's something that you brought up too about like this division element, whether or not it's division from the person in the modern world in being separate from this wildness, this other nature. There's that division, but also too, I believe that there's an article uh, that discusses your work with the One Climate movement, which is an
Yes.
environmental advocacy group, and I think you speak about how um, nature is not Israeli, it's not Palestinian, it's something that's more vast. It's a broader experience than that,
Yes.
and I think that just kind of it does a lot to speak to what you're saying about how it's this you can really root yourself into it because it's beyond these things that as humans we organize our society a certain way or we act a certain way. It's beyond that, and you can really you can take refuge because it has a deeper meaning and a deeper connection than that. And
Exactly.
how do you find that the kids
Exactly.
take?
And
Hmm? Oh, go ahead.
now, having said that, like really the deep realization, like for with kids, for example, I use this thing like when a fox sees you, it doesn't wonder like what's your origin. It only sees a person, or they only see a person standing, and this is like another feeling, it doesn't really matter. But having said that, like understanding that nature is nature, and I personally don't need to call it anything. I don't need to call it neither Israel nor Palestine or, this is just nature. And yet there is a history of people living on this land, and there is a history of the Palestinian people connected to this land. Just as I said now, like there is the heritage has been flowing, and there is a way of living that is really connected to the place. So it's not about disconnection. It's not about, okay, so this doesn't belong to anyone, or خلاص, we can move anywhere else. This is not the idea. It's about the well-being and understanding that as people, we have been adapted to this land. We have been adapted to this climate. Like all the animals, like all the trees, they have been adapted to this place. And then how can you live here in integrity? So it really matters for me to say that, like this is a very core and important sentence, because understanding that the nature is not, first of all, we don't, it doesn't belong to us. Earth doesn't belong to people. We belong to it. Yeah, obviously, like someone smarter than me said that. um, but but it is about how to live in integrity and in dignity and make life possible. And like things really shifted over the last 2 years since October 7th. And October 7th has been one point that things tilted, but it didn't start there. What did happen there is that really almost like it was a point where it became clear who's going in which direction, in a way, like kind of a, like all masks fell. A friend of mine said, I really relate to that, like no longer possible to pretend anything. So so basically I would really name it and say that it's important for me, this understanding the right of the Palestinian people to be living on this land with, with integrity. And this is really core. It's a part of the path that I'm walking, a part of the path that I'm walking, along with knowing that it's not about othering. It's not about this one does deserve and the other doesn't. It's not that I'm saying that one people should be living here. I really honestly believe that everyone can share land in a very harmonious and beautiful way once like all parts can live in integrity. When there's justice, when there's integrity, when there's dignity, when there's honoring and respect for each other. So this is, like it's a very tricky ground to be walking on. I'm really trying to choose my words in a way that doesn't offend any side. But I know where I hold truth, and I know what my truth is, basically. And I know I didn't answer your question at all regarding the children, but this seems to me like it's a really important topic to address. And also, because when you asked, we were speaking about the division from the land, like there has been a very intentional attempt to separate Palestinians from land, be it through confiscating lands, be it through changing, like the topography, be it through not allowing us to practice, for example, foraging or other practices that connect us to the land, not enabling us to practice whatever is the thing that makes this bond, right? So, and I think that it's important that many people are becoming aware to that, to go back into like the connection, because basically this is what is, in a way, swimming against the current of what takes us into division, what takes us into separate life. And the separate life is in all directions. Like once it's like once my ego is separating me, then there's like I am as a human separate from the land, I am as a person separated, people are separated. So yeah, that's yeah, I hope I'm making any sense. It's
Very much, very much. Thank you, thank you, and I appreciate your clarifying, or can continue to speak on how there's this sense of belonging to nature, in the sense that like we belong to nature, and then there's also this uh uh respect to peoples that are from a certain region, that have embedded within them, within their nature, a connection to the nature of the landscape where they are from, and allowing for that connection to be sustained with integrity is so important. So thank you for offering more on that. And I feel like too, just like with your connection to the land that you're on, there's the olive, right? That, because I remember that being something that was of particular significance to you, and I feel like now would be a good time to talk about
for
the
sure.
olive and what that means.
Sure. And sure. So and remind me to go back to the one climate, because you mentioned that and we kind of like jumped over it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but the olive trees are they're very important, generally speaking, for all Palestinian people. It has a very significant meaning to me, but it's not only me. This is like a something that is present for Palestinian people, because the like this has been the sort of agriculture that has been going on for a generation, and it's a very deep connection to the land. So there's a whole culture about olive picking, like until now in our schools, like the olive picking season, then like sometimes we just don't, like we have less learning days because it's the olive picking season. Everyone knows like this is the olive picking season, so the families are gone together on the land and working in the land. And I remember like from my childhood, really, like um, for about 2 months, sometimes 1 month or 2 months, we would go every weekend, and the whole family is gathered. And there's something first that unites families together, then like traditional songs happening there, eating together, really on the ground in a way that's really simple and connected. Has something that connected people in a very, very deep and beautiful way. And the olive tree itself is just so ancient, right? I don't know how familiar you are with the olive tree. It can be really ancient and very big, trunk, going over generations. And there's something very unique about the olive, because it can like have this incredible shape of it, because of the biology of it doesn't get rid of the toxins or something, like it can have holes inside the tree itself. but it also creates beautiful shapes that remind, like they look like an ancient being, right? It looks like an ancient being living on the land. And we all, like olive oil is something that is present in every house. Olives themselves, like you would not sit to eat without having olives on the table. That's like the, you know, in any traditional house. So there is something about it being also a very solid connection to this land, and very nourishing and rich, you know, and it's just really bonded to our identity. And unfortunately, over the last years, so like for us, we still pick the olives, and people in the West Bank as well pick the olives, but there has been this, like the issue with the settlers attacking people, like farmers while picking the olives, and it became a really big issue. They're not allowing them to go and get their, you know, like very big part of their income is dependent on the olives and the olive oil. And so it became like an issue of fight, really brutal ugliness happening there of settlers actually either ruining trees or uprooting them or not allowing the farmers to pick olives. So it also became like this icon of the occupation, basically, and everything that's happening with it, of the abuse of the Palestinian people. So this has like a double, you know, in a way. There's no double because there's just deep love. Like when I think of olive, like something sits there, oh, this is my roots, right? Deep roots. And on the other hand, it's being so violated, unfortunately. So yeah, there's a lot about the olive itself. And I just want to say that it's really about the olives because it's a tree that brings the relation between nature and humans. There are other trees that I consider also to be like really deeply connected to this land. And something within myself really opens, but it's more of when you go out to nature or connect to nature or go into nature. I don't know how you want to call it. It's just that the olives, they have the bond of the connection between our like human culture and the nature. It's like this, right? This connection there happening. Yeah.
I love the
So
I love your interpretation of olive trees and how they can be the way that their trunks can shape and their
yeah.
how many generations they can last. They to you seem like ancient beings, and two, like there's this element too of like where uh people living on the land belonging to land, like the people belonging to the land, and
Yeah.
the trees kind of sustaining that life and being these beings that are the trees are these ancient beings that are giving these gifts, these
Yeah,
olives. And
exactly.
it's wonderful to hear about how
And think about it also, and in a way, it's I go to pick these olives, and I know that my grandfather and his father, or my grandmother and her mother, people that I did not know, still had the connection with this living being. It's incredible, you know. There's something really, yeah, very
yeah,
beautiful and deeply deeply connecting to the ancestry and to the land and to the culture of this place.
certainly.
Really,
And
it's and and very very deep familiarity. Like I would not miss the shape or the smell of an olive tree wood. You know, like give me any piece of wood of olive, I'll immediately like recognize it, right? So yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
and with your work with like One Climate, I was just wondering because I know you wanted to go back to a bit of that, but I was wondering like, you know, how that works into this sense of working with if there is an element of this with like ancestry, just these generations and generations of people. I wonder if your work with One Climate and the advocacy that movement does, what that does for you and your connection and maybe others connections
Yeah,
with the land.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, the One Climate is more about the climate justice. and my bond to all beings of the land and the animals, basically, because, you know, like we're really working on this. There's a piece of land center south of the country that's basically the land belongs to Palestinian farmers, but the country kind of confiscated it, but not really. All of the plans happening on this piece of land are clearly intended to make the use of the political goals, like to make it belong to the Israelis. So now once we have the cemetery there, then it's clear it's Israeli. So in like what we're doing with the One Climate is really working on this part. Like our intention right now is going to this piece of land where there's going to be like various targets, like cemetery, industrial areas, another thing that they're thinking of, and quarry, and like many things that are clearly aiming to disown the land and make it like belong to the Israeli. And the problem is that it's a really incredible area, natural area. Like it's a corridor for animals to be passing by there. And it's environmental corridor, is that what you call it? So it's like basically animals and plants are going to pay the price of our greed, basically, and the political agenda, right? And my partner, my friends in that One Climate and myself, we're both aware, like this is the unique thing about it, is that it's a climate movement, it's an environmental climate movement that is not denying the political part, right? Because mostly what happens here is that you either have like environmental activism or political activism, but they're rarely ever paired together, because many people that are dealing with this environmental issues don't dare to bring the political story because they're scared to lose partners. But it's crazy because like environmental issues are political issues. It's intertwined. There's no division. It's not possible to look at it that way. So this is the unique voice of One Climate. And we do direct action, non-violence, you know. This is our methodology, which really works amazingly with Buddhism for me. This is like the path where it meets, really. So a lot of it is about being firm, being assertive, but also doing it lovingly and doing it, you know, from a place of care. And that, like, for me, this is where it all connects. All my work really connects back to that. My work, my paying job is actually I wrote a program to raise awareness to animal welfare in the Arabic schools. It's now really entering to many classes now. Like this is, we're on the height of it, and that is bringing children to be aware of other beings living here. Activism that has to do with environment is about connection and caring for other beings, and the Buddhism itself, like the mindfulness and the practice, is about opening hearts, also bringing like to oneness. So it's all aiming to a place of unity, generally speaking, and of working from an open heart and real deep connection. So yeah. So that's what. So
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's wonderful, and it's wonderful that you're bringing that wholeness and that care to classrooms where kids and young people can start to develop that openness, and to develop that relationship and connection with nature, and also to reduce some of that maybe violent tendency that comes from division, where it's like, oh, that's something that is other than me, therefore it's expendable, or, you know, however it's put into someone's mind.
exactly.
And then too, you know, we talked about mindfulness and Dharma. I was just wondering how did that start for you? Like what brought you into to
Yeah,
Buddhist
interesting,
practice?
right?
Yeah.
Like what brings anyone to Buddhist practice, right? Like
Yeah.
how did you start your practice? Well, suffering, you know. Like everyone else, I was just suffering, and I was looking for a way out. And for me, it was at that time the suffering had a lot to do with my anxieties of exams. You see how how simple it is eventually, or just simple beings. I was really having difficulty to go to exams, and I wanted to be a veterinarian. That really mattered to me because I loved animals so much. My love started, by the way, by just loving the cats of the neighborhood, you know. And I also at the time it was really interesting because they were like, when I started studying, I obviously started I studied in an Israeli university, right? I lived like inside Israel, so, and there were very few Palestinians that managed to go into the school at the time. Now, luckily, there are more, but it was a lot of source of a lot of stress for me, also because it was like kind of not really very popular for either a woman or an Arab to study veterinary. So I had like tension coming from all kinds of directions. But I had my goal. I really wanted to be a veterinarian. And along with like very clear, you know, like intention, I'm gonna be a veterinarian. I'm very stressed about exams, and I wasn't managing to make it. And I started having like these anxiety attacks that were not making it possible for me to pass exams. And I was looking for a way. And my psychologist did manage to help me for like it. She did, but it helped for a certain extent. And then I reached a point where I felt, okay, well, this is giving me only partial answers. I needed like deeper answers, and one thing led to the other, and I found myself going to a retreat. And that's actually how my path started, like on this on my journey started. I was not exposed here to anything of the sort. I have to say that like I started in a very new agey attitude, you know, this is what was available for me at the time. But also really, I mean, I don't know how meaningful that is, but like how much sense that would make for you guys. But basically, as growing up as Palestinian here, I did not have much attitude or much not attitude, much access to anything alternative or spiritual, or it was not there. I actually arrived at it through the Israeli community, through the Israeli people practicing. But the interesting part is that it's also like I was not, I I was searching for something different. So I somehow managed to find my way into something that was also like this path of the Israel, like this group of Israelis who are looking for a different thing for their own community. So that's where I felt, see how like it was really interesting. Like kind of like they were the bridge for something more international, right? And and I tried many things, you know, like many sorts of practices, many different ways. One of the paths I did walk was the Native American path as well. Like I really was very, very curious. I find a very, very deep connection to it in my heart. And along the way, with all the things that I tried, two things really stayed with me for a long time. One is my Vipassana practice, and the other was the Native American path. And ultimately, like I became deeper and deeper and deeper into the practice and into the Buddhism. It started really with the Vipassana retreat, and then I learned other, like other ways of also practicing. And because I have a tendency for deepening, and I have a tendency and I also really like traditional things. You heard about me talking about my ancestors and my trees and the roots and the ancient. So I look for ancient apparently everywhere, and I needed something that is more rooted, and that's how I arrived basically at the Buddhism. But for years I wasn't, I was just practicing alone at my house, like I was just sitting and doing the practice and just really like with myself, not out there, just really practicing very humbly alone in the house. I did take few retreats here and there when I started. At some point, also when I finished my studies, after between the point where I finished the veterinary studies and then started a family, there was a time where I was traveling. And then I did go to other retreats and practiced a little bit more. But really the practice as it is now started like 4 or 5 years ago, like in this, like I've been practicing the mindfulness meditation basically since 2005. That's where the first retreat took place. But the part of teaching and deepening and in the way that I am doing now started basically with the epidemic of the COVID, like the COVID epidemic and the difficulty that came from there. Again, suffering, right? That's our opening point to so many things. Sometimes I think like this is so genius to look at the suffering as the opening for development and growth, right? It's these vulnerable truths are just amazing for me. It's like every time, wow, yeah, right, right on, right, yeah.
Certainly. Well, and thank you for sharing that. And it's it's so wonderful that you also had that feeling of like I recognize that I'm suffering, because I think like some people, they don't know that they're suffering, but you recognized it, and then you're like, well, I gotta stop this. I'm so
Of
anxious around
course.
exams. I gotta do something about it. And of course there
And
are other.
then, by the way, the anxiety attack stopped in my practice. I'm like I had the anxiety attacks for years and years, really, and it became like almost of a pattern of a habit. And the last time I had an anxiety attack, I was actually in Shamtong in Thailand practicing a 21-day retreat. And one of the evenings when I was all alone in my room practicing, I just out of nowhere, I had like this crazy attack. I did not know, like, I can't recall what it was. I just remember that I was like doing the whole process of hyperventilation and shivering and everything that comes along with it. It's really, really, really hard. And I remember like sitting there and okay, so what do I do now? Okay, what do I do? Like, what do I do? I'm all alone here in Thailand, like middle of the night. And so I stand up and like, okay, awareness to the right leg, right foot, awareness to the left foot. Just continue walking. So anxiety happening, and here's the breath, and here's my foot, and here's the step. Anxiety, okay. Yeah, so that was like I really remember it very vividly, even though it was like almost 15 years ago now or more. But I remember that moment very vividly because I just kept walking along with the attack happening. And slowly it declined, slowly it passed. And that was the last attack I ever had. I never
Wow.
had any other attack after that. I almost had something and I recognized it as it was rising, and I was like, okay, I know you. Right. And it just I looked at it and I was like, okay, I'm not going down that path again. So I kind of managed to somehow separate it. The way that this path helps are unfathomable.
Hmm.
Seriously. Like once you take the practice really deeply, it just changes your life, changes the way that you deal with things, changes everything. And it's, like I'm aware that it's not, not everyone connects to this path, but if, for those that it does, I just think it's it's a treasure, real treasure. Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly, certainly, and thank you for sharing that. And it's wonderful to hear that it helps you navigate those difficult anxiety, panic attack moments, and to the point where, having had more mindfulness or more practice in your life, you can actually see them coming before they take over. And
Yeah.
I was just wondering too, because I want to get into the development of the sanghas that you lead and that you
Yeah.
facilitate as well. But
Mm-hmm.
you just for anybody that is looking to help deal with anxiety that's building up, I feel like the mind really wants you to focus on what it's worrying about. It's like I want you, person that I'm in right now, working in, I want that person to fully focus on the worry. And I feel like there's this element that where your mind would be so caught up in that it doesn't want to think about doing a body scan. It doesn't want to think about going back to your breath. Is there something that you've noticed for yourself that helps you negotiate that focus from being in an anxious mindset to be like, okay, well, we can worry, and then also too, I think it's important that we just take a break for a second. I was wondering
Yeah.
how you negotiate that.
Yeah, that's it's first I want to say that it does take practice. Like it doesn't just happen like after a couple of months that you're practicing. It does take practice, and like you need to really trust in the practice and trust in yourself to be able like to make choices in in your mental capacity. I think this is the first thing that it takes, is like to really be able. So when you're sitting there meditating, okay, so I can come back to the breath or come back. Like if I'm practiced enough in that, then that muscle works to begin with, right? This is like the first step. The second, I think, has to do with wanting not to go into the attack, because at many levels they serve us. And once I understand that I can achieve what I need, what my being needs to achieve without going into the attack in other ways, really it's about taking responsibility at times, but it's also about loving yourself enough to know that you can find other paths to achieve that. So there's that, like tending to the underlying need happening there and the clear wanting not to go there. And even when you have these two, sometimes it is still stronger than you. And it just needs to be the capacity to understand that you are not it. Like, I am not my emotion. I am not that fear. I had you, like when you were asking, I was reminded of a certain situation where it wasn't an attack, but it was a very strong fear that I was facing. So my mother got sick, and every year we go, like my family, me and my children, we go with friends to Sinai for a vacation. And because my mom got sick, I could not go with my children. So actually they went with friends. I had like friends really taking care of them, but I was very anxious about it. I was really, really, even though they're teenagers, even though I was really, really anxious about it. And I remember like I'm standing and I'm starting to imagine all these sceneries of what can happen to them. I was really scared. And I was like, okay, so here's the fear. Here's the fear showing up. And here's the moment. And where am I and where's the fear? And can I find myself really and not necessarily believe the fear? And again, it was a little bit of a swim against the current. There is something in there that has to do with resisting our down the path, resisting that path of no, like, okay, no, I can't, it's too much. There has to be like a real choice of, okay, I'm standing firm and connecting to this moment, and then remembering, here are my feet, here's my breath, and kind of, there's something about seeing the fear itself that already makes it less strong. Just by noticing it, already it starts to lose its grip on us. And so just going back to the breath, and very important, taking care of the issue that made us worried. It's not that you say, okay, I'm not gonna worry. It's like, no, come on, there's nothing. No, there is something to, my kids are going alone to another place. Like I really need to make sure that they're okay. But this sort of irrational fear was not serving. So how do I serve my deepest need and not give in to the anxiety? I think this is like the two things that are, like make it possible for made it possible for me to go through along with that, right? I found that to be like the way to. I have to think if there's something else that I can think about with this. I remember there was once also I went to speak to a woman once in India, and she told me, "You choose." She was sitting there, you choose anxiety attack. I was like, no, I don't. She said, yes, you do. I was like, no, I don't. She said, well, if you're smart enough, you look at that moment and you choose. And it took me years to really find that moment, where I could either really fall into it or choose. But like the key here is a lot of determination on one hand and self-compassion on the other hand. It has to come with self-compassion, compassion, otherwise it doesn't work. No, otherwise it's not it. Yeah. I don't stop. Yeah.
It
Is
was
that
great.
resonating?
Yeah, very much so. Very no, that was really well said and very meaningful. And it's I appreciate that there is this what can help you get through that is well because it's an irrational amount of fear or it's an irrational amount of anxiety. It's not to say that it's not important to still care and to make sure about the things that you can control that make sure that they're all squared away because it's not to say that you just throw all your worries away. Like some of them, sometimes they inform how much you care about something, or informs what needs to be done. And yet, coming from a place of self-compassion and a place of self-love too, just you don't need to do that to your body. You don't need to do that to your mind. You don't need to go down that road as as indulgent as it might be to be super angry or super anxious because
Yeah,
it's what your body what kind of wants you to do.
exactly.
There is that against the current quality that ultimately serves you,
Yeah.
I think. So thank you. No, that was really, really well said. And
And we had that we had the opportunity to practice this a lot over the last, like sirens going on and bombs around and like, okay, how do you practice mindfulness in that situation, right? This is like a really interesting one. Like how do you stay mindful? How do you stay present when there's a siren, on where there's bombing, on where, like all of that. It was very intense practice. And you see, like for example, I live in Haifa, so I'm not under immediate danger. I have a friend in Gaza. Gaza is Gaza, by the way. I keep saying Gaza because I'm just like it sounds. So like when I would be speaking to him, and like there is bombing all around, then you can't, just okay, let's breathe now. Like no, take care of yourself first. Make sure that you're in a safe place first. And even in that situation, anxiety doesn't would not serve, because like if you're managing to stay to a certain level of awareness and presence, then you can behave, if it's possible, to behave in ways that keep you safe and alive, right? It becomes like really extremely important. But I remember like, and again, obviously, like there's no, like circumstances that are unfathomable, really, like the stories that like I heard my friends speaking about are just amazing, like incredible, terrible atrocities and fearful life, really horrific, beyond the way to even describe. But it's interesting to compare, but there's no really comparing. What I did want to speak about actually was my life here is like on the first siren that went on. Again, I behaved like extremely. I didn't have a place to hide, and it was like we ran across the street, we went to my parents, and because we wanted to hide from the bombs. And then kind of like we got used to it, and we started like, okay, understanding when it is dangerous and when it's not dangerous, and when the siren is this and when the siren is that, and you start like finding your way. Amazing situation of like really being able to practice at your best. Like how do you manage to find the sanity within this insane situation? How do you manage not to hold like the extremely traumatic experiences in a way that you can still manage your being with love, right? And and this is where the Sangha was a real anchor for me. This is where like we really managed to help each other during this time. Very, very meaningful, very important, very important step into my practice, the creation of this Sangha. So you asked before about the Sangha. I don't know if this is the right time to start speaking about it, or do you?
Please, please.
So basically, as I said, like there was different points and levels of suffering. I'm sorry, this is like just my way to deal with it. Sometimes like you go back and then like looking at it from afar, it does make you smile sometimes. It's not that I'm underestimating the suffering nor the pain, but it's also honestly very, like very traditional way of dealing with things, just laughing at it because it makes it lighter, We do that a lot, laugh about the pains in order to be able to deal with that. I started my first group it was a WhatsApp group, and I approached a friend, and we started recording meditations. Like it was meditation. He would put a musical intro, and then I would have a meditation, and then another musical exit from the meditation itself. And like quickly we had many people coming, and I could see that when I was recording a meditation and putting it on the group, on the WhatsApp group, and I could see like who's going in, and many people apparently were going and listening. So this was the first attempt to create something. But I didn't come in touch with the people because it was like a group, and I would post the thing, and then whoever wanted to listen to it could listen. I didn't know what happened with it, who was doing anything, who was not doing anything. It was not, it was just a very, how to say, interesting experience for me to be recording and also really exploring where the meditations can serve in these situations. And in October 7th, we were all I was very shocked for everything that was happening. I also immediately got really worried because something in me anticipated what was about to come. And I was like, oh my God, we're doing Palestinians, what's gonna happen to us now? This was my first oh my God. So I went to one of these meetings that the Tovana is the Israeli Sangha space, and they offered meditations online, and they offered many a day, and I just joined with the teacher that I learned with, my friend Asaf, and so he was they were offering this meditation and then talk, and I spoke something, and after that, the teacher that was holding the space called me and started arguing with me about what I'd said. And we had an argument, we had a conversation for about 2 hours. And I was like, no way. I'm not doing this anymore. No way. This is not, no way. No. So I called my friends, and we created a space called Ihna-Hon, in which we were offering meditations 3 times a day, every day. And before we knew, there were 200, 300 people in the group, and people were attending the meditations, and there was really interest. So that went on for 2 or 3 months, because everything was kind of everything was shut. No one's going to work, no one's going, there was the sirens happening, and there was it was very, very intense for everyone. Later on, it continued to be intense for people in Gaza mainly, but less for us. It was very intense emotionally. It was very intense on many levels, but we were not, people started going back to work, right? So once people started going back to work, and we had to give less, there was not as much response to these meditations, and like from 3 a day to 1 a day, and then it started. It felt like it needed something else, and I basically had a conversation with my colleagues, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna talk to the people who seem to me like they're really serious in their practice and create this small sangha. And this is how Marsa started. This is my sangha, like the sangha that has been going on now for 2 years. A very dedicated, beautiful group of people that we've been practicing together and really growing very close together. Now it started with like maybe 8 people, and then some people left, some people came in, and everything done like not dana even. I don't take dana, like it's all voluntarily, like really all activism. Basically, this is my activism right now. So what I tell them is that I'm happy to be teaching, but your dana is your commitments. Right? So there's a commitment of the group to be coming at least once a week, and until recently I offered everyday practice, basically. Now now there are 4 practices a week. One of them is the central practice that we meet, and like it's all on Zoom, by the way, all of it, because people are from all over the country. And also we have people from, someone's living in the States, someone's living in Dubai. My friend Yara is living in Dubai, and someone's living in London and in Spain. So there are all kinds of places, right? All Palestinians, obviously. No, not all Palestinians. Like the people from the Golan Heights here, they don't consider themselves to be Palestinians, so that's like Syrians, but it's all from this land. Bilad al-Sham, we call it, right? And yeah, so we have like one central meeting happening every week, and we are visited by amazing teachers, like from basically, like very, very high level of teaching that we're receiving, of really very well-known teachers, right? So they come, they accompany us, visit us again, and we've been offered also teacher training. So there are 7 or 5 in one, and another 2 others, except for me and Yara, taking the teacher trainings, also given for grants and for free. So it's a developing Sangha in a way, hoping that it will open later to be teaching. Like I hope that we will be teaching more and more people, basically. And as I said, we held retreats. It's really deepening and becoming very, very beautiful. It began as a refuge, it began as a place where we could feel safe to speak. Because what had happened after, like what had happened after the October incident is that the Palestinians inside Israel were pretty much persecuted. We were not able to say anything. We still cannot say anything. And something as minor as saying, as expressing our pain for people in Gaza would put us in trouble. So, yeah. So it was a place for us to speak in the beginning, to really just be able to open our hearts and talk and somehow survive this whole time. And then it led us to the practice. So again, beginning from the suffering, deeper into the practice, right? And then becomes like the practice becomes part of you, and it becomes like one of your main things that you want to do in life, and that's it. And we deepen into the practice, right? So yeah. This is Marsa. Now Marsa has 24 people in it right now. And I still hold a meditation once a week in the other group in Ihna-Hon. And this is like the opportunity for people to join Marsa still, to keep Marsa alive also. So if there's someone who's interested in joining, then they're invited to come to Ihna-Hon a few times to see if this is suitable for them, if this works for them, and if they can commit. And if so, then every once in a while we open the possibility for people to join Marsa. Yeah.
And how do just in case anyone's interested in exploring their commitment, but also in joining one of the Sangha offerings that you have, is there a way for people to find more information about that, or is that something that is through the network of the people that are already in it?
I am so not good in the social media and advertising what I do. And I am lucky that my peers and my friend in Marsa, they know how to use the social media and know how to advertise things when there's something. Usually it's, like people tell each other. Somehow people arrive at Marsa. Um, and yeah, uh, I mean, I haven't been doing anything to promote it in a way that people would hear about it, except for doing it, just simply practicing. And I mean, every once in a while, there in the beginning also, every once in a while, we did hold open meetings with teachers. Like we held, I think you also said that you saw it. We held a meeting with Gabor Mate, right? So that he very generously really offered few meetings with the Palestinian Sangha, or not only Sangha, like which was really spread for many people, and that was really helpful and very appreciated. And then people did come to Ihna-Hon through that, for example. And and as I said, like many international teachers are accompanying us, like really, really, really amazing teachers. But we're kind of, I always don't know whether to have them only for the little group or to make it open, because what we benefit from their teaching is really beyond any way of description. Like they're giving us like we have a meeting and then we practice from what they teach for a long time after that, like, and enriching our learning, because they're, when we were speaking in the beginning, I said like the Palestinian community, like we don't have that much of the teaching around here. Like my way to learn before I opened up to the international realm was basically through the Israelis, and I can't do that anymore. I cannot do this. This is also a really unique thing about Marsa, is that we created it completely independently. Like I didn't get any help or any, it was just like us, any help from Israelis. I wanted to say I got a lot of help from international teachers, but not Israelis. So it was like really kind of on our own, creating our own space, making this initiative. And it's very empowering, really, really empowering to do that.
Yeah, and the fact that it resonates too with the people that are in your Sangha or in your community, where immediately once you said, "Hey, I'd like to start something. I'd like to begin an organization, or I'd like to get people together to navigate this time through Dharma or through practice." It was just like, yes, like absolutely. Let's get this going. So it's wonderful to hear that there is a very warm interest in this. And just think. And thank you for just making this accessible for people that are trying to navigate, that truth of suffering is abundantly clear, and it is overwhelming. And so it's wonderful that you're creating spaces for people to navigate everything that's happening. And two, just I have one more question before we kind of get into just two last questions. But my one question just on this topic is, I remember seeing in an interview that you had mentioned that part of the dynamic part of your Buddhist practice as you develop it is that you're kind of putting it into your own language, and
Yes.
now as you're more familiar with teaching and Vipassana and Dharma and practice in that world, and you obviously have your cultural background and your language. You've been noticing that there are some words in Palestinian culture that meet the
Yeah,
Dharma. So I was just wondering what that experience has been
amazing.
like for you. Yeah.
It's amazing. This has been really amazing. So see, this was, I think many of the people did join the first group, Ihna-Hon, because like there was a real thirst to hear meditation in Arabic. And it just makes you feel home. It's different. To be hearing it in English is one thing. To be hearing it in Hebrew nowadays is even much, much harder. Like I practiced in Hebrew for many years, really. I was doing my practice in Hebrew for many, many years, and I feel very easy with the language. On that note, I want to say that I feel easy with the culture, but I'm like some real division happened again, and over the last 2 years that I'm finding it very very interesting to bridge. We can talk about this also separately later because I do want to answer what you asked. But it was in the beginning, it was like really creating a whole new world, like kind of, this in the never-ending story where the nothingness takes over, and then like the first thought, and then the next imagination, or the next fantasy or whatever, and that created fantasy again, right? So it felt like, okay, we're finding the first word, and the second word was really kind of the words are there, obviously, but we did not utilize them for meditation. And so I was really finding it hard in the beginning to find the right words. Now, for example, like when I'm invited to give meditations in Hebrew or in English, it's like, whoa, my brain is just wired differently. It got rewired into Arabic again. But really finding the words that deliver the spirit of it correctly was not necessarily easy. But then I started finding words that actually deliver the spirit of it and the word of it even deeper and better for me than any word in English or in Hebrew. It's just there in the culture, you know? So it's through simple words that you use, simple phrases that are just used there. And I had to be first like really ritual to me in the beginning. And then you start to be creative, and then you start, oh, okay, so I can use this word, or wow, that's actually describing it really well. And and boom, and then it started really weaving inside. But like making the practice available for Palestinians has many other sides of it. The language is one, like there are other things as well. As I said, like in the first retreat, it was really important to be able to go to nature and connect to nature. That was really empowering. That kind of created the feeling that this is like something that I can own. The practice is something that I can own. It has to be connected to food at some level because we really like to eat. so, and we have our like food as a part of our culture. So there's like, I personally, until now, I have not managed to have any day of silence that the silence wasn't broken around food, because it's just it's not possible. And I was like, okay, just drop it. Like drop it. Okay, khalas. Like we talk when we're eating, there's like the way of eating, just our food. That's it. Drop it. Some things are not, they might be possible to apply because there's an advantage to it, but it has levels and it has steps. And along these steps, I think it's really important to have people feel safe, secure, and free, and themselves, and I think this takes a lot of flexibility, because you want to try to apply something into a different culture, but you have to be culture sensitive in a way to be able to make it, available for people. And yeah, so I have to very often just like, okay, we do it differently, it's okay, where are where are the really important parts, and where are the parts that I can let go of? Where can I know this is practice, we stick to the practice, and where are the places that I can just, it seems like it's more important that people feel safe inside. Yeah. So
Certainly.
it's
Yeah, I particularly appreciate that that openness and flexibility with, when we eat, part of eating is sharing. It is talking. So that's it's just as fundamental to eating, talking is as like literally getting your sustenance. So I appreciate you sharing that. And also, I mean, it's encouraging too, because for not every if you were to impose other cultural ritual or cultural approaches towards Dharma onto another, there might be some abrasiveness. There might be some things that don't fit as well, and you don't want to push away anybody that's just trying to come in for the right reasons, but because they don't feel like they don't fit into this um over or these rules or regulations that don't fit their lifestyle in certain ways, then you might push them away, and that might have, that doesn't really benefit the Sangha. So it's wonderful that you have these things where you have this flexibility, and you sustain your connection in life with each other. It's a wonderful thing. Well, I've really greatly appreciated and enjoyed our conversation. I just had two quick questions, and one of them has to do with promotion, and then one has to do with just general advice. But on the promotion note, I mean, you're very involved with things like One Climate, and you're involved with your sanghas. And I just wanted to create a space for you to share anything that you'd like to promote, whether it's something that you are working on yourself, or one of your sanghas or groups or organizations, or if there's
talk
work.
about this.
Yeah, or if there's somebody that you know of that's doing something great and cool that you want to get word out about too. So whatever you'd like to share.
I told you that I'm not good at that. I'm really not good. I was like, what am I gonna promote, for God's sake? I don't know what I'm gonna promote. um, um, I mean, I think that, like the fact that I spoke about it is already promoting it in a way. I do want to say that there is a thought to create an NGO for, like as an umbrella um, for practicing meditation generally for the Palestinian Sangha. We have spoken about it, but that did not happen yet. So I'm not sure really how to promote that, just like the knowing that this something is that is going to be birthed. And actually, my friend Fatmi Qasim is trying to create also a Palestinian space for meditation. She calls it Sama. And it would be really wonderful to support her in that. She wants to have a center for us to be practicing in. We don't have a center right now. Like I held a retreat in my house the other day. and the other retreat we held in some guest house in Ramallah, and it was very intense. So that could be really helpful actually, if some support can be happening uh, for the Sama initiative. And yeah, I think these things, and as I said, along for the One Climate, the main thing is that people are aware of this group that is working towards climate justice, because the concept of climate justice is really important. Like normally in the world, when you speak about climate justice, you would speak about people who are not have, like the differences of richer people and poorer people. Here we have a very clear also additional division of the Palestinians and Israelis. And the Palestinians are like on the situation of the climate of this term climate justice. It does take a whole new way of looking at it. along with the occupation. It's not to say that there are no marginalized group in the Israeli community, but the level of injustice that is happening towards Palestinians in the Palestinian community inside the country, in the West Bank, but also inside the country, and definitely let's not even start thinking about what's happening in Gaza. So that understanding of the climate justice is just really very important to be aware of and know about, and just like really that this is like what we're looking at and to raise awareness for. Like the Palestinians do pay a very high price for the political agendas, on the sense of climate and on the sense of many other things, obviously, like social. There's a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of violence happening now. This does not have to do directly with the climate, obviously, but that does have to do with the politics. Like the Palestinian community inside Israel now is facing an incredible level of violence, like the situation of the gangs and the killing that's happening in the streets, supported in a way, or let's say ignored by the Israeli authorities, is just like really, it makes your heart bleed, like it makes like really, really deep pain. So we're facing a lot of difficulty as Palestinian community in this, along with all the hope that I've been speaking about, along with all the work that we've been doing. Like this is really the core of our practice. Like we are practicing the Dharma, we are practicing how to raise ourselves and keep ourselves open, but we deal day in, day out with these situations. During the more active, like the more active stage of the genocide, it was really like sometimes like could not even describe the level of worry and pain that we have for our friends there. And then it's all the other topics that we need to deal with. So this, I know I'm not promoting anymore. I'm again going back to speaking about the Sangha, but I think it's really important to be saying this, like with the support of the teachers, really, we've been looking, this has been one of the main things that made it also special for us. It's not only looking at the culture and where the culture meets the Dharma, but how do you deal with these really core issues of survival with the help of the Dharma? Like how do you manage to look at the identity, at the occupation, at the colonization, at all of these topics as someone who's like, the marginalized, the group that has been colonized, the group that has been conquered, and how do you deal with that? How do you manage your experience and stand upright with that, with the help of the Dharma, really? Yeah. So the next stage was like, how do you manage to stay with an open heart for the people that we are living with, like for all the people living in this country, without submitting, without lowering your head? And it's not to say that there is no anger, there is, but like how do you manage your experience with inside so that you can actually continue living with this incredible, unbelievable situation that we're living in? And it's a really hard one, and it's exhausting, hatred, anger. I try not to go, like I really, every time I catch myself in hatred, it's just like I said, I catch myself with the anxiety. It's the same thing. So I see, okay, this is hatred, this is me, it's not me. So how do I stay present with myself, and how do I tend to myself along with that? But it's a very hard work because you have to survive it, somehow. Yeah. For someone who's walking a path of truth, it's a very hard work, really, really intense work.
Certainly, and thank you so much for saying everything that you've been saying, but also too, like for your work, your personal work, for that work that you're doing for yourself, where you are catching yourself before emotions take over, but also too, like helping a sangha do the same. And I don't know how open you are to it, because you are very busy leading the sanghas that you're a part of, and doing the work that you're doing elsewhere, and doing all the things that you have going on right now. But I just think that like what you've been reflecting from your sangha and from your personal work just is, it could be helpful to just generally people that are experiencing that first noble truth of that suffering, and they're recognizing that suffering. And so if it just floating the idea, but like if
Yeah.
maybe once a month, or just something where you have a video uh talking about some of the things that you've been talking about, that's for a broader audience, both Palestinian and otherwise, uh just about like how you're navigating hardship, just because it really is, it's on the one hand inspiring, on the other hand it's helpful to know what people are going through just as people of the world. And I think it can also really resonate. So I just having those accessible to people outside of the Sangha, I know that I would benefit from it greatly. And
If you're suggesting that I would do short videos, then I'm happy to, but I need help. I'm really not good
okay.
at that. I'm
Yeah.
the worst person doing these things, seriously. Like for me, it's, you see, like I'm sitting here, I'm talking, I can give, like we've been talking for, wow, hour and a half now. I can do that freely, but then to start thinking about a video, maybe with the
Okay.
help of my Sangha, maybe with the help of my Sangha, I have some people who are really, like really good in managing things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that you have many wonderful things to say, and so hopefully there's somebody that can help. But no, I think it'd be a wonderful service. But then again, you're very busy anyway, so I don't mean to put that on you. But then also too, my last question is just a very broad, open advice. Is there anything that you would want to share with someone? Like, what would you want to say to somebody who is walking the Buddhist path that you would have wanted to have heard earlier on in your life?
A very interesting and good question. And um, I think that the path actually reveals itself, honestly. I was not ready to hear what I know now when I started, you know. I think that the path does reveal itself. And there are in many places things that are said that belittle it, you know. It makes it kind of, I came lately um to the term Mac mindfulness. This was, you heard this term? I never heard of it. But I was like, oh wow, this is interesting because I was using a lot um the idea of like capitalistic spirituality in a way, where we practice only for our own good, where we practice only for our own benefit, and we don't think about others. And like there's this very common saying that if someone's hurt, then it's their karma. Well, this is like a total misunderstanding of the karma. This, like, beware of that. That I think is really important. Like this path is ancient and long, and it's really worth it to deepen into it and to learn all aspects of it, and not take it into a place where it's only personal benefit. You know, this is really, I think, for the practice. And I think that also today, something that also my teacher and friend Stephen Folder was saying is that we cannot separate the practice from activism. It has to be one, you know. It's like it has to bring something to fruition, because you know, I have the situation that I'm living here, but the situation is crazy all around the world. You know, it's not only, we're not the only, we didn't invent suffering at all. It's happening everywhere. And if we take this practice into our daily lives and bring it into action and really like, but take your time, like I think for someone who's just beginning, first get rooted in the practice and then bring it. But it's important to keep that as a goal for some point, to be like bringing it together. Yeah, I think that's, and that too, I really practiced with my Sangha, you know, like, well, I remember one day that we actually were all sitting for a meditation day. And then from the meditation day, we just walked into the demonstration directly. It's part of, you know, it's part of what you do. So, and then we were walking like really kind of aware into the meditation, very centered, very observative, but yes, you know. I think it's really important. It's not a feel-good practice. It's a really, you know, the goal is to free everyone eventually.
Well, Muna, thank you so much. Thank you so much for speaking with me. This is it's such a truly inspiring story that you have and that you shared with me. So, and I know that there are many tender and many difficult moments in it. So I appreciate you sharing everything and for doing the work that you do. I mean, it really is from working with children to help connect them with nature as a way of compassion, of building compassion and nonviolence, and also to the work that you're doing to address the suffering that you, your Sangha, the world at large is experiencing. Is just it is indescribable how much of an impact and how wonderful it is. So I thank you for doing what you're doing and for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the question. This has been really fun to do. So thank you so much. Really, you have a very amazing way to go into it. Thank you. I really appreciate this. And thank you for your work. Really beautiful. Thank you so much, Vincent.